misplays from the GIGABYTE Marines, who had a lot of opportunities to close that game out.
We'll see how they start things off. Ban phase 1 begins, and we already see Stark gets hit up with the direct Gragas ban.
Yeah, not a big surprise. He did play Nautilus earlier today as a replacement for the Gragas. Not the same success, of course. Clearly not as comfortable of a pick for him. Kennen is the other one people have been banning. I don't really think it's worth banning that against him because he didn't actually show anything against G2.
Yeah, I agree. He hasn't actually impressed me on the Kennen whatsoever. I do think that something like the Ziggs can be worth banning out if you're not used to playing against it. I also think that GIGABYTE Marines look their best when they are playing heavy pushing lanes. They have the pressure, and they can unlock Levi in the jungle. So, you know, Ziggs for me would be a great third ban for G2.
I like the Time Kench ban here from GIGABYTE Marines. It is a comfortable pick for Mithy, most played support for him. They do actually remove that Kennen, so they clearly want to just double down on kind of removing Stark from the game.
And one thing that G2 has been doing that I haven't necessarily agreed with is really high Shen priority. We saw multiple bans in their earlier game today to get them into a matchup that was disadvantageous against the Gragas anyway. And if you're trying to go for Shen here again, then taking out the Kennen does make some sense.
Also against Stark, he's been that if the game goes 35-40 minutes, good flanks, finding his way in, and GIGABYTE Marines' usual strategy of mayhem in the early game that allows them to get those engages. Fiora gets banned out, as we will see. Could be that Great trick to start things off.
I almost feel like they're just having fun with that last ban because every single game GIGABYTE Marines play, there's one ban in the first phase that's just completely random. We had Braum yesterday against Wolf instead.
Ezreal against TSM.
Yeah, Ezreal against TSM. Now Fiora against Trick in the first phase. I understand this in the second phase. This now leaves the #1 jungle pick for Trick, a jungler who's been struggling, you know, at this tournament. He gets his Graves.
And last time he had the Graves, he looked great. This is definitely a comfortable champion for him. He has shown the ability to dominate. Malzahar is another pick for me that has been pretty interesting because I just think it does not deserve the priority it is getting in this tournament with all the nerfs it has received. But if Mithy is not willing to play a range support into it and punish it, then you get away with it.
Oh, I think Mithy definitely wants to play range support here. Like, Karma is still open. They actually value that Malzahar above Karma right now. Kha'Zix is a comfort pick again for Levi in the jungle.
GIGABYTE Marines squatting up the purple people eaters with Malzahar and Kha'Zix. On back to the side of G2 Esports. What do they round out here with pick phase 1? It will be the Ashe, more for sure initiation coming in from Sven. And we'll see what they level out with perks. It'll just be that support. Zyra.
I like this. This is just a direct lane counter to the Malzahar right now. It's going to be really tough for Archie to lane. We saw Archie Slay obviously lose the 2v2 earlier against TSM. Could be a lane swap like we've seen it before from the GIGABYTE Marines, but it's no longer a surprise.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be, and G2 should be prepared to handle that. I do think that there are ways where you can minimize any damage, but the big thing against the Marines is that they always seem to get first blood. Teams need to play a little bit more passively, give them some respect in the early game, because if they go for a lane swap and aren't able to pull off some early gank and get a kill, then I think they're going to be at a pretty big disadvantage.
Yeah.
Now obviously Ziggs is one of the picks you talked about earlier, Azael. Picking it right here, though, actually means that GIGABYTE Marines can't really get a massive advantage in a roll. Like, they could have picked a mid laner here, banned out 2 counters as an example, and then still there would have been things like Caitlyn probably open after the bans, because it would have been like Ziggs ban and Navarro's ban. Enough AD carries, in my opinion, to actually not make this the best decision to go AD carry here instead of trying to pinch the mid lane pool.
I definitely agree, but one thing you can say for a lane like this is that the level 6 all-in potential is pretty massive. If you can bring down the Kha'Zix, you have the easy setup for Ziggs ultimate with that Malzahar ultimate. You also have pretty good ganks assist with the Satchel.
A lot of things you actually can't even approach. We're going to see what they do. Shen ban on the side of G2 Esports as we see the Fizz from the side of GIGABYTE Marines. 15 seconds for their secondary.
It's such a classic G2 move right now. They value the Shen in like 2 games in a row. Like, we need this champion now, just above Gragas, everything. And then they lose with it and they're like, okay, let's just remove it. We actually don't want to play it right now. We just want to see if we can get maybe a carry matchup top lane, or maybe the Nautilus for expect.
The Nautilus is definitely what I'm expecting, because when you ban out Kennen here, I think to me you're looking at someone that abuses those AP tanks. You can build and itemize towards that very easily. Gragas has already gone, Shen is gone. It's almost trying to force your opponents into perhaps taking the Nautilus right now or giving it over to G2 as a pretty safe pick.
All right, so G2 respects the fact that LeBlanc could be a blind pick right now from the GIGABYTE Marines. Syndra is still open as well. There is a lot of good choices for mid lane available. Also the counter picks for Syndra in case that is the blind pick from Perks. Now let's see what Stark wants to play top.
Definitely fit his champion pool of initiating. The Galio gets hovered. They still have 8 seconds to decide what the team will grab, and it is going to be the Galio. So support from the top lane from Stark.
And it's something that is going to work pretty well as far as you have lane push, you can shove out the waves, you can help Levi because you're going to have the advantage in bot lane for push, very likely with Ziggs. You have it in top lane with that Galio. But that said, the only really way that they've drafted to deliver him so far is the Kha'Zix, which can sometimes work, but I feel like it's one of those things that only really works if you're already ahead.
Yeah, and I actually think that Nautilus we talked about earlier would be fine here. Just take tank, be tank matchup top lane. Seems like G2 though are considering maybe getting a matchup where G2 and G2 Expect can become like a split pusher. It's hard though against Galio because Galio has so much wave clear in his kit that he can often just keep the lane kind of even later in the game and then just join his team with his ulti.
Another thing you have to wonder about a little bit is, does this lead you to think that there's a lane swap even more so? Because Galio, as far as the 1v2 turret defenses and those kind of things that you have to pull off as a top laner, is one of the very safest in the game because you're both tanky and have the range wave clear.
They still have the Ahri, the Talia as well. The follow-ins we've seen with this Galio composition that Optimus has been bringing to the tournament. Final pick here for the mid lane, Gigabyte Marines.
So I wonder, Echo is available as the traditional counter to Syndra right now. They do have AP from the Ziggs and the Malzahar.
Yep.
Of course, can run the Zed in this matchup here. Definitely still a skill matchup. It's by no means like a massive counter matchup for the Zed, but he's going for it.
This is going to be pretty exciting. Anytime you have double assassins on a team like this, so much depends on the early game, and it's also another really good way in for the Galio. A lot better of a way in, I do think, than the Kha'Zix, because you have such easy backline access with that death mark. You throw that down on someone like Syndra or Ashe or even Zyra, who do not have a lot of mobility, you instantly drop that Galio ult, and it's going to be a pretty powerful combo, especially when combined with that Mega Inferno Bomb from Ziggs.
I feel like that's the name of that Gigabyte team, is mobility. The top 4 can all have themselves a move block safety to get themselves in or out of the fight, and Archie just sits on the backline waiting to get those Void Visions in. 20 seconds left. G2 Esports, pretty decent comp themselves, with a great idea.
And the Gigabyte Marines comp here, that's the kind of comp you look at and you say, if we fall behind early against that, we're just going to get run over completely. Like, they can push multiple lanes with the Zed and the Galio and the other one. They have Kha'Zix always kind of sitting in the jungle between the lanes and catching whoever's trying to walk around to defend. It's a scary draft to play against when you are facing the Gigabyte Marines, who love to get these early leads.
Yeah, and who have been so proficient at doing it. They've been getting first blood almost every single time. And I think that G2 just needs to show some patience in the early game. They need to play safe. This is not a composition that must push the pace.
Yes.
You have Graves, who is a great farming jungler. Everyone scales pretty well and can play relatively safely in lane. So if they're able to do that, they'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, that's the thing. G2 will win every late game fight if you look at just the champions against each other. As long as you are not the 5-6K behind, and you've lost everything.
As Gigabyte Marines has not roped you into playing their early game, something they've been doing so well throughout this tournament. We've even seen them scatter SKT for an extended period of time until they were able to kind of wrangle the chaos.
Yeah, and you want to say by now that these teams have watched enough games from the Gigabyte Marines to say, okay, guys, it's all about early game. Let's not, get wrapped into the chaos here. Let's not make some big mistakes that we don't have to make. Yet, I do not trust G2 Esports, because they are the kind of team to still drop the ball when you just feel like it's almost so obvious. But it's also because it's hard, because Gigabyte Marines will force the fights on you, and you got to react in the moment.
Yeah, and it's all about those split-second decisions and making the correct call time and time again, because teams that play super aggressively, the strength that is there to me is that they will force you to make the decisions time and time again. And every time you make an incorrect decision, they get in the advantage. So it tests not only your shot calling, but your reactions in the moment.
And those in the moment reactions, that has been a bit of an issue for G2 if you look at just like the last year and a half, actually, ever since they kind of started with Trick and Perks together, because they're very good when they can plan ahead. But when something unexpected happens really quickly, they can actually get surprised.
You can see how safe G2 was actually playing this early level 1 though, walking as a 4-man squad his top side, then Trick even checking his own Raptor bush, making sure he's not getting cheesed there before walking forward. So they're definitely very aware of the fact that the Marines may be trying to go for something a little bit cheesy.
They love to light the fuse early. Here it's going to be the kind of gentleman's agreement. We get the line of scrimmage and start things off quite easily. Gigabyte Marines getting those wards down on the bot side early to make sure nothing comes across. And we are off and running.
Now, I'm expecting this Sven Mithi bot lane to win this 2v2 with Ashe Zyra here. It's really good matchup for them. They have been playing well in the laning phase. And Archie and Slay just fell against Wild Turtle and Bifrost. So this should be a G2 winning lane. Top lane as well will push early for Nautilus, but a few levels in the queue from Galio, and then it's going to even right out.
Definitely will. I think that so much of the strength of this G2 lane is that you both outrange the Maltar very easily. You can poke him out before he can actually get in. Sven has to be aware of not standing too close to these range minions because Ziggs is going to try to tag you anytime you're on the range minions, throw a Q in there for the instant explosion and harass on the 86.
Jungler.
Like there may be a little squeeze in from Midi here so he can get a ward. He has been hovering his seeds towards the top side. If Levi were to come in, they have a great defense in that lane as they push up here. And he may get just that.
Yeah, so they knew he was on the blue buff. They actually put a ward where the blast cone would normally be, but they didn't actually get to see the Kazakhs walk by that ward. But they have another one, obviously just here. A little seed, I think it is, actually in the river.
Yep. Good thinking as well.
They're playing with some of that respect. They actually back off. They don't try to harass for the CS under the turret, not trying to do anything too aggressive, and everything's looking pretty stable so far.
Yeah, mid lane as well. Zed will struggle early levels, has to accept that he just needs to use the Q to farm the minions. He needs to use Q to hit the champion and try and get his autos in here to farm the minions. One of the Apto advices when you watch his stream on Zed specifically, because otherwise you just end up having this situation where Cinder will trade with you, but you don't trade back, and you just fall so low, use all your potions, and you're forced to go back, and then you lose even more. But it's okay for Zed to give up a few CS just to try and stay in lane. Experience is key.
Like the pressure of Levi just below Optimus for now, maybe encroaching into the side of G2 Esports. And that jungle pressure from Trick has not been seen yet. It may be countered here in mid as Perks is pushed up quite far, but Trick routes around the backside. They may not meet. Bot lane gets a little love here as they go back and forth on the taps. Smithy, one more hit. Summoner heal from Sven. It bounces. It hits the structure. Turret saving the life of Mithy.
That was actually so close, and Trick actually walked directly past the bush that Levi was in. They were both level 4. I think Kazakhs could have taken that fight, but he was nervous about the fact that Optimus was shoved in and that Perks could respond faster.
Oh, look at Archie here. He's actually roaming mid very early. Maybe see if he can force a summoner from Perks, but it's been called.
Hasn't seen him. Did walk over a ward, so Perks can just say, hey, I'm going to kind of play this aggressive, see if we can draw him back. Archie feels like he has been seen in Thunderlord's trade from Optimus to Perks back and forth as they get a reset lane.
One of the big questions here is also going to be how fast can the Marines actually knock down a bottom turret? If you can knock down a bottom turret, move your bot lane to mid, you unlock the side lane for Zed, and that is going to open up so many more options for them.
That's why having this winning bot lane for G2 is so good, because they should stop the Ziggs from actually getting to that tower in the first place and start shooting it low, and then of course use his W to actually kill it. You can see Slayer right now, no potions left. He's down to about 30% HP. It's a risky spot to be in, because if you get hit by one bruise, you're probably going to have to flash.
Yeah, you definitely are. And the other fact is, until you have at least like a lost chapter or something, if you're last hitting exclusively with spells, you will run dry on mana. And he's getting very close to that point where he's not even going to be able to really CS it.
Trick is actually bot lane right now to try and guarantee that G2's bot lane can push all the way out. He does realize now he's on a ward, but he's actually just here to make sure they don't get ganked and die. They want these guys, because they have the HP advantage, to push all the way to tower, hit the tower a little bit and deny some CS and force Slay to go back to base, while G2 can now push the wave all the way in and then also recall, but again deny a full wave of CS.
TG back top side. Pretty even as well here. Expect's going to be able to get his ward out and make sure he keeps shoving the tidal wave, make things safe.
One of the big things about this buy, though, for Stark is once you hit that triple Doran's point, you can actually just one-hit the backline with your Q. So that's going to allow you to push that much faster, and you don't actually have to go up and use your passive auto to clear that out and get the last hit. So it does give you a pretty nice little spike as far as lane phase goes.
Perks hovering the top side. This is most likely going to tell GAM that Trix is also towards this. They have the vision ward there to see if he is going to come in, but no aggression just yet. 6 is for the mid lane. Ignite to exhaust.
Nautilus ult.
Oh.
A little early.
You got me hyped for nothing.
Walks away.
You use the ultimate.
Yeah, no, but
Walks away from that one. Just
Stark just kind of walked away.
get out of lane.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
That is a level 6 for Stark as well if he decides to go on to Perk. I should put a Z on that.
We have to remember now that if Zed actually goes all in, then we can get that Galio ulti down towards the mid lane and see if they can do something.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Deficio. Stark decides to head back top side. Does not provide the extra damage, and again, the push comes from Slay and Archie on the bottom. Easily farmed up by Sven and Mithy at the turret. 50-50 in CS at the bottom.
Now a small, somewhat boring thing is tracking early wards. I actually think G2 Esports have kind of struggled to get deep vision early on. It was something we've seen in multiple games where they didn't get surprised that the enemy jungler suddenly shows up kind of from out of nowhere, because they don't really have vision in the entrance of the enemy jungle. They have now finally managed to get something in the jungle, actually spotting the Kha'Zix in there. Won't get to see how low he is, but at least they know, okay, he was on this side, so now we can kind of track him.
And I think that having topside vision, especially against these solo lanes from the Marines, is exceptionally important, because anytime Galio leaves lane, you have to be aware of the threat of the ultimate to mid lane, especially in combination with Optimus, and that is a lane they really would love to snowball. So I think it's intelligent where G2 has placed their wards.
I did say if this game continued to go somewhat even, G2 could have a bit of that strength towards the middle part of the game. We're only 8 minutes in. Even is the name of the game. 3-4 G2 versus a 2-5 GIGABYTE Marines. Stark looks to make a little bit of action in the mid lane, but this is going to be countered if they hit it.
They did see him on that pink. He cleared out the top side one, but didn't actually spot the one in the pixel brush. So they had the early awareness of that. And, you know, Perkz has been edging out a bigger and bigger advantage in mid lane the longer this goes on.
Playing it very safe right now. Hurts my heart a little bit when I see someone roam mid and not check that little brush on the way. It happens so often, and it's so simple just to be like, oh, I found a control ward.
It really is the fundamentals, right? And something like that can cost you a little bit later on.
Oh, exactly. Like, again, control wards that survive for 5 to 10 minutes early on just provide so much safety, because so much of vision is not about necessarily always seeing the guy, but kind of knowing, okay, if we have not seen him on this side,
still have information.
Exactly, he needs them to be on the other side. So right now, Perkz can hover to that side. That was a miss, but we've seen a few of those.
Yeah, and I think it's worth a try, because if you do connect that, you're going to get bare minimum Summoner's Force from the bot lane with the Zyra to combo that up. So I think it is worth a shot. And G2 has been playing this early game so intelligently, with Trick always covering them when they're pushing up, and Slay caught out.
200 HP on him. Archie's in the front line here. Should be able to get out of that Stranglethorn. Mega Inferno back. 4 Summoners blowing on the side of GIGABYTE Marines, and Slay squeaks out by the skin of his teeth.
It looked like Trick's Q actually missed onto him. He put it right on the tower for the instant bounce, and I don't think it connected.
Did not, but I think Slay stepped back into the Zyra ult and actually took damage from that one. He did stay alive though. He's back in base again. So as we talked about earlier, this Ziggs is not getting access to a tower. He's not allowed to go in and actually get a structure down and then roam out of this lane. He's just getting pushed into his own turret over and over. And over time, G2 will just keep expanding this lead.
Yeah, and the face check there. Trick with a nice, so you do the auto RE combo to cancel the knockback from your ultimate. It just barely missed there. I think he did get tanked by the edge of the Zyra ultimate, actually. The damage from the actual ultimate spreading almost took him down, just barely not enough.
So our good friend Stark actually did walk back down to mid again and did kill the control ward, and new one has been placed though by G2 to always try and track this Galio here, as you highlighted earlier, Azael. Very important, because you don't want to give this Zed like a kill, because Galio can ulti in and maybe Kha'Zix shows up as well.
And the pace of the game right now for G2 is exactly how they want to play it. Although it does seem, you know, like there's not a lot of action, they're playing it very slowly. The onus is on the Marines to actually force a play. G2 will play like this as long as they want to, because they are getting the scaling advantages. As long as they are even, as long as they're getting little edges, they're very, very happy. But Archie being 6 may mean they want to force a play. Without Flash, could be tough though.
Once again, though, G2 Esports are calling these roams very well. It's something they have struggled with in the past, where teams could maybe force like a gank against them because someone forgot to call miss on the enemy support or top laner. They're communicating it. We got 3 guys mid lane. Malzahar got pinged, so I think, again, while he's not in vision, it was just pinged like, this guy is probably here because he's not in the bot lane, so just watch out.
And this is, it's so interesting to me to see, you know, little advantages pour over into the rest of the game. So because of the success of G2's bot lane, there's no flash on Archie, which means that a lot of the power of the Malzahar, which is this roam and this first initial flash ultimate, cannot really be pulled off on someone like Perkz. So the advantage from the bot lane is now spilling over into the mid lane, allowing Perkz to have a more successful time.
And it simply means for GIGABYTE Marines, they might end up having to send a 0-0-0 set to a side lane later on. And he's not really that big of a threat then. You can actually just very easily, as G2, move up with 4 members around the mid lane and just force an arrow like on the Ziggs, on the Malzahar, and then make a play where Zed suddenly has to leave that side lane and join a potential fight.
I mean, Nautilus can answer this guy so easily in a side lane for now. He really does have to be ahead to find those picks and get those quick kills, but just has not found any opportunities.
Great play so far by G2 with the vision, as we were saying. Expect has the lane pushed. It's been tricked down on the bot side, and they're making sure that Perkz has 2 vision wards above him. He is in Optimus's face the whole time. These guys don't have a chance to breathe on the side of GIGABYTE Marines after that bottom lane hit.
Controlling the river in the laning phase just gives you so much safety in lane, because you feel like you can track almost any gank. It's only like the blast cone ganks over the walls you're kind of afraid of, but you're not really afraid of that on top lane blue side, because the blast cone obviously is on the Baron side, and you can see then if they actually jump over that Baron pit with the ward being placed. Optimus though on this Zed, we talked about him just before. He's a man to look at, because last game on LeBlanc, he played horribly, didn't do anything. Now he's under pressure and he's going in.
Oh, the ultimate dodges out the last 2 balls of that, but it's not going to be enough. Perkz throws down the damage and Trick is there.
It's time to talk about how bad he actually played on LeBlanc in the last game. He did all-ins after getting chunked, and he gets surprised by Trick. And Optimus, he needs to step up if GIGABYTE are going to pick up some wins.
He really does, and he thinks he can take the 1v1 because Perkz is out of mana.
Right.
But Perkz will not take that unless Trick is there backing him up. So you have to give the respect to your opponent that they are not making this foolish of a move. You know, Perkz spends the last of his mana bar, and he says, all right, I can all in him. But Trick is right there the whole time, and Perkz never would have gone for that if he weren't.
Yeah. Flash in from Optimus as well. Just flash ult straight away against an exhaust Syndra. Definitely looks like a guy who here on day 4 feeling a lot of pressure after his performance earlier today, and he's been important for these guys. Like, the only reason I'm kind of highlighting, you know, his poor performance earlier is because he's actually been so good before that one game. I think him and, of course, you know, the rest of the team have kind of understood how to play around his very strong mid lane picks like Syndra, even like LeBlanc. And they've been using that advantage in the mid lane to kind of snowball into the jungle and then further down the other lanes.
And he's obviously feeling the pressure. I mean, 14 minutes in, his team has not gotten really anything done. They are that early game snowball composition, and they're feeling the heat to actually try to make something happen. Because at some point, they do have to pull the trigger, and G2 is not giving them any high percentage plays, so he felt he had to go for a low percentage one.
Yeah, that last pick, you know, you're telling your team on the red side, just give me the last pick, I can counter this guy. And you better counter him.
Well, we're seeing maybe a cycle here for GIGABYTE Marines if they are kept in the laning phase and they can't create their regular chaos.
Rick is waiting for this. They see them now.
It's like they might fall behind. Here going for an attempt. Start comes in a little bit late as Trick is fast on the quick draw. They get themselves out to safety.
Forced a flash from Trick. G2 made sure to get out of there as quickly as possible. Stark had used ulti, so top lane wave might be lost for him there. Just on the Dragon though, it's a good call from GIGABYTE Marines.
It's looking like this should just be their Dragon. Trick may try to steal, but I don't think he can.
Oh, over the wall. Optimus is going to go into Trick now. There's the other exhaust they have. 2 in the game to keep the team alive. And now Optimus is in a bad spot. Still gets to queue off his shadow, and they are able to take down Archie. A 1-for-1 so far as Optimus is the next to hit the ground. No, yes, it is. Stark now trying to get himself back over the wall. Forces the flash. And I don't know if there'll be a chase. Expect has vision from the Scryer's Bloom, but they may be able to push mid here.
2-for-1 for G2, but GIGABYTE does get the Dragon, and that Infernal Dragon is going to be pretty big for them, so it seems like a pretty even trade. The question now is what else can G2 get? Can they actually push up and really pressure this turret?
Let's see, Stark with the wave clear in mid here. Looks so risky though with Trick just walking in without flash. Like, he walks in alone at first. Not even sure why. Like, yeah, okay, he might look for a potential steal, but that's still so risky, and he's lucky that both Mithy and Perkz are here so quickly, and it's only 1 member going down from G2, and they actually managed to then turn it around, because you can see GIGABYTE Marines have a few members stuck on the other side.
And Mithy did, honestly, a great job with the quick exhaust, delaying the kill onto Trick so much that Optimus was always going to trade his life for that at the very best.
Starts to hurt, you know. Zex's ulti right now, 1 Q on Mithy, and you can ult to force a flash.
Yeah, Zyra is one of the squishiest champions there. At least they do know that the flash ult combo is down for Malzahar, since Archie expended that in the previous play.
A little trade back and forth and damage. As Archie is not afraid to get himself up into danger. Levi just trying to survey the jungle and make sure mid lane's still going to be clear. Optimus, they need to get him going. Now the ultimate, here comes Levi as well. Optimus makes it out of this one. They have dropped perks, and Trick is forced to walk towards the turret as Gigabyte Marines activate.
That was the play we were looking for here. No flash on Syndra from some of the fights before. Exhaust did come down, but not enough, and now Optimus making sure that he gets at least something on his Zed.
And I mean, that was a nice play. They expend the flash from Levi. He can get right up onto the Syndra, and there's 2 assassins. You can only exhaust one. There's too much damage coming in for Perkz to be able to survive without his Zhonya's or without his flash.
Gigabyte Marines getting a little bit back, but still the lane pressure in their face. Expect able to keep it up to the turret. The teleports are still down for both, but we may have to see that coming up as a big play next time, as nothing has really opened up on this map. The turrets don't have too much damage either. It's been staying in the lanes.
Yeah, and if you're G2 Esports, you're looking bot lane right now, because again, that's where you have your advantage in terms of 2v2. No flash on the Malzahar if you can force the play. Like, the very good thing about Ashe against Malzahar is that your volley is so good at breaking his passive. It's just so easy when he ever walks forward to trade. You just volley him, passive is gone, and then you can actually arrow the guy. Potentially force the play, but you can see Archie is just trying to lead the lane with Moby Boots. He's looking for like that one little pick. There's still no flash in Syndrome mid lane, so Perkz needs to be so careful, otherwise Gigabyte Marines will kill him.
And it's kind of interesting, the choice between Moby Boots and Lucidity on Malzahar. I've always been more of a fan of the Lucidity Boots because I'm of the opinion that you usually cannot make the play work without flash anyway. So even though you have a little bit more move speed, if you can't get in range to use the ultimate anyway, it does help you clear with vision and things like that. But I just think that Lucidity is so powerful on Malzahar.
Definitely a stylistic choice. I see a bit of both, honestly, from a lot of different Malzahar players. This one, he wants to roam, wants to try and join his team. He's not been successful yet from Archie. He's still leaving Slay alone bot lane. He's around.
It's also going to be interesting to me to track if Perkz actually goes for the full completed Zhonya's, and I think this would be a good game for it.
Yeah.
A lot of players do like to just sit on Seekers, but they're diving on Perkz again.
Youmuu's hits the Perkz. Deathmark should do some damage, but obviously not going to take him down just yet. They want to try to get in. Optimus is forced to flash. Perkz does go down to the bottom to Slay, and now it's Optimus is low with Archie and Levi. They are trying to limp out of this. Here comes Stark, the heroic entrance. Will they continue the fight? Is here is Slay. A double kill for him. Levi alive, hops over the wall, and Expect is now trying to make it work for the team. Levi squeaks out of this. The volley isn't enough from Sven, and G2 is forced to turn on the 1 and 2 in favor of Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, this time it's 2 kills for Gigabyte. They might not be done.
Pops him back to Satchel, actually gives Expect the distance he needs. It puts Stark in a bad spot. Slay is forced in, he's got the turret aggro. They're forced to get out of this one as G2 almost scrapes back a kill for themselves.
Oh, that was so close, but it looks like Gigabyte will still be able to finish off that tower, and they're going to come out big on this fight with that extra gold.
Yeah, we kept talking about Perkz not having flash and how Gigabyte Marines want to force a fight around him. He's actually stepping forward so aggressively, it's extremely risky what Perkz is doing right there, and he's getting punished for it.
And this is why you need the Zhonya's. Perkz is completely out of the fight already. Slay with a nice ultimate, and then Sven trying to go for the support here, while Ziggs is actually doing the damage to him, pushes Sven entirely out of the fight. So, you know, some poor targeting perhaps and a little bit too aggressive there.
Yeah, and we actually just had to wait like 10 seconds or something for Perkz' flash to be ready. So you have to wonder, if you're G2 Esports, did you have to look for any sort of like play near that river? Because them stepping forward allows Gigabyte Marines to say, okay, let's go. This guy no flash, we jump him, no Zhonya's yet, we can kill him. And they just strike instantly, we know they will.
Oh, dangerous spot, mission impossible here for Gigabyte Marines. They call in Stark as the ultimate is down. Optimus almost the same. He gets one more hit, and that's going to be a kill for Trick. They turn on to Stark, but that's a lot of HP in their face. Levi could be the next target.
Behind the turret, though.
Flash forward, alt Archie. And it's going to go for the fight onto Stark now. They're going to have to be careful how much damage they try to put onto him. Now Expect's going to go down. The focus isn't there for G2, and it could be turned around. Levi now around the side of Midi and Perkz, and they are on the run.
And with Sven down, G2 didn't have the DPS to stay around for that fight. Slay is here, and this is looking like it'll be another turret with the wave coming in for the Marines.
And after Ziggs, we need to remember that they can just chunk down the tower and execute it. So another fight. It's another 2 for 1. Fighting early on is what Gigabyte Marines are looking for, and they're getting the fights right now.
But it's not just about the kills. They're getting those objectives here too. And they are pushing forward. They're unlocking their split push. They're unlocking their siege potential.
Instantly, the first 2 turrets of the game as we've been stalled out in the lanes with what seemed like favor of G2. Slay getting a little crazy now, and this is not what they want. Can he get someone with a dragon? One left hit. Oh, Mithy does pick it up. Levi tries to get in to pick up Trick's HP though, and it is just such a scatter fight each time. You got to be ready for the next engage.
Mithy has been so on point this game with his roots. He has been constantly catching people out, even within the fights. The bot lane catching Optimus there again, gets a kill on Slay, and I think he's having a great performance for himself.
This reminds me so much of the first time these guys played each other, because G2 actually from early laning did pretty well, but then as soon as we got like further into like the mid game, early late game, then suddenly GIGABYTE Marines just found openings to fight. They're finding another one.
Whoa, deleted. Trick gets himself back on the map without the HP that he needed. Arrow comes through, allows Mithy to get out here, but it is going to still be a hit. The taunt onto Perks. Stark is gigantic, and he's delivering the kills on a silver platter for his team. Now onto Sven. These are going to be the hits from Archie and the rest of the team. And Stark finish it off, but Expect on the back line, also being the big man. Double kill for him. They may be able to turn this one around. Levi looking for one last shot. Hops on to Sven. They're going to have to back off for Expect. These fights just don't stop.
They just never stop, and that's why GIGABYTE Marines drafted so many assassins. Zed, Kha'Zix going off right now.
And it's why you have to play safely around the vision. Trick is at half HP, base checks that bush, gets taken down so easily, and this is a baiting pick ward if I've ever seen one sitting out in the middle of the G2 jungle.
Again,
Optimus went fishing.
You would think at day 4 after now 3 weeks of MSI, so many games already been played, 20+ games by the GIGABYTE Marines. The teams are still getting surprised by the fact that a Zed is hiding in that brush. Like, why would he hide there, you know? The fight is over. And they walk in with no HP, they die. They get forced into the fight again, and GIGABYTE Marines, they're playing their game right now. G2 are trying to match it.
This is one of the first times we've also seen GIGABYTE Marines find their game after early game, able to inject this chaos to a portion of the mid game and then continue to run the team around ragged. Like you guys said, with the split push ability open now, they can start to spread G2 thin and move those wards in as we're seeing.
And it's really telling that you're seeing the side lane control is now going to the Marines. They're the ones who have the minions pushed up all the time. G2 really is on the back foot because they have seeded vision control, and they need to play slowly, retain that vision control, and slow down the pace of the game.
And now the GIGABYTE Marines, with the push, they need to use it to get vision. That's always the thing, you know, you just get a ton of vision, especially a lot of control wards, you deny the enemy vision, and then they can't see anything, and you can roam between the lanes, and you can find the picks. Archie, though, is a support who actually doesn't buy a whole lot of control wards. He just picked up 2 right now, so that's good. But he actually, on average, like per minute, buys half the amount of control wards that Mithy buys. So that's obviously a big difference right here. Archie only normally buying like about 7-8 control wards per game. Needs to be more in this one, because they need that vision to keep creating these picks.
Absolutely, and we've seen G2 be very on top of clearing the wards. It's something you have to pay attention to as well. If you can protect the vision you're laying down and then use it, you're not just trying to get vision.
Yeah, and it looks like the Marines are setting up for a play here. Both their side laners were collapsing. You can see Zed was moving up, and Stark is going to head back to bot lane now, so it looks like they are going to call that off. But still, vision control is being taken on the blue side of G2's jungle, and Zed is already on this turret threat here.
This also leaves the possibility of a fight that leads into Baron for either team if they're on that side of the map. It goes well for one. 25 minutes in, solo laners are splitting bot with those teleports up. GIGABYTE Marines are looking to route the backside of this second tier.
All right, they can't really dive just yet. They have to still respect G2 Esports. Now, Hourglass is ready for perks. That is so huge for a potential fight.
Yeah, it really is. Not only just because of the Zed, but because of the Ziggs ultimate, which is very easy. Oh my god.
Archie just died. All right, Archie's down. Arrow also gone now. Sven tried to use it mid.
But G2 should play more aggressively now. With Archie down, I think that you can move forward. I think that you can retain some of this control and try to take back some of the map. Optimus looking for an
Youmuu's run. Oh, he actually doesn't take the first bit of damage. Decides to wait a second. Pulls back to his shadow. Should be okay. They come up with the kill. Very nicely done on the pop from Optimus and the play from Slay. Now they're on to Stark. He should be able to get himself out. Redemption gives him a nice heal, and Levi is right on the shoulder to pie in the face whoever gets on him.
G2 cannot chase because Levi is waiting there, and they're showing off this Zed combo with the Galio so well. I mean, this is such a crazy aggressive dive, but flashback to the gameplay, and then we'll see if we get to see Sven dive.
Yeah, again, it's 4v5, but we also got to add, you know, not only the Galio ulti, but also the Ziggs ulti.
Yeah.
So whenever Zed goes in, if you've already used your flash, Slay will 100% hit his ulti on you, and just add a bit more damage, so the Zed ulti will end up saying pop, and then you die. It is not fun to play AD carry against that kind of composition.
Yeah. And that is where something like the builds really come into play. You have to build more defensively, and this does not look like a dive that should work with both summoners up past the turret, but the Ziggs ulti lands the damage, Stark comes in, and Trick cannot chase because they're covered by Levi.
Very quickly to turn it into a 4v4. Optimus has been very good outside of laning phase here, just going in, you know, set up these AoEs here with the rest of the team, and then getting back out, staying alive. Actually, quite a lot of these engages, lately at least. 2,000 gold advance for GIGABYTE Marines, and more importantly, they are snowballing a bit with their comp.
Isn't that cool? Oh, go ahead.
But G2 is definitely keeping it close, and I think that the itemization, the further we go into this game, is going to help them more and more. If you see things like a Phantom Dancer on Sven and a Maw and things like this, it gets harder and harder to burst people down at the start of the fight. And if you can't actually accomplish that as the Marines, then you can't really win the fights in a longer run.
I wonder how many games we've seen 3 towers for one team and 0 towers for G2. Been happening a few times at least, where once they lose that first tower, they end up in a few fights that they end up losing here in the mid game, and then another tower falls, another tower, and they don't really get anything in return, and it just puts them really far behind in terms of gold.
It is amazing the pressure you have to deal with when the minions are only going just past half, and then filing right back at you because each turret, or each lane I should say, still has that turret. Optimus approaching the top side, one of the lowest turrets for GIGABYTE Marines as they look to continue pressuring the second tier.
And you can see the complete lack of vision from G2 on the bot side of the map. They had this vision line across that bot side by the Dragon area for so long, and that has been completely nullified for a long time now. It allows them to play more aggressively as the Marines, and for G2, it's a very scary world out there. They have no idea that this Baron is going on, and that going down would be massive for the Marines.
And you have an Optimus in the Optimus brush. Looks like Smithy's gonna read that one out just a little bit, but him being there can't do much. They're gonna be able to get Baron 29 minutes in, uncontested due to their map control. GIGABYTE Marines secure Baron.
It's a good setup. The threat they have constantly just forcing a fight means G2 Esports are just sitting back and waiting. And this now means their split pushing comp has Baron buff minions in 3 lanes.
I really feel like G2 needs to bring Expect to group with them to be able to move forward and aggressively take vision back, because no one here can actually face check someone like Optimus besides Expect. And I think that, you know, leaving the Nautilus in the side lane has made them cede more and more and more ground. And it's not like Stark is going to instantly kill your bot lane turret if he gets there. Yes, he can push up the waves, but G2 needs to fight for vision, and this is the result of them not doing that.
So important for the GIGABYTE Marines to win this game right now. They've become then 3 and 5. G2 will also be 3 and 5, and then suddenly you're actually catching some of the teams just above you, trying to make it into that top 4.
Yeah, Flash Wolves are at that same record. TSM are right around there too. I believe they're 3 and 4 right now. So a lot of teams are in the running for these final couple spots.
GIGABYTE Marines says we are very much one of them. Out of the redemption, actually. Shot Slay misses the heal. They're going to be able to get this turret, though, as Stark just playing it safe, being a hero, gets himself and his team a little bit of help back towards the top side of the turrets. Top lane not pushing too fast. Flashes in. Optimus in a very scary spot here to start things off with the exhaust down. Draws a lot of abilities towards himself, though, so the team can try to get in safely. Archie goes down, but you've already lost Trick and Sven on the side of G2. Expect trying to pull back in on this one. The turret's down, and he's going to have to turn for home base as GIGABYTE Marines open up G2's.
That's going to be the inhibitor. Perkz stepped forward into the Galio queue and went down, and they may try to end the game here. 31 minutes in. Ziggs kills these turrets so fast with the Lich Bane.
expect, get Slay to go down. He's the damage on the turret they're looking for. Satchel's not used there, so the damage isn't going to come through. They are being thwarted off, and Expect is doing his damnedest to stop the damage. They stay alive for now, even with the Baroned up minions, but that was a lot of damage for that Baron play from GIGABYTE Marines.
It's another one team fight by GIGABYTE Marines, just diving straight on Sven. Like, again, as an AD carry, there's so little you can do when you have like so many ultis being invested on just you. There's no time Ken to save him this game around. And Optimus, once again, he soaks up cooldowns, everything, and then he jumps back. And he lets the rest of the team try and finish G2 Esports.
And their combo was so well done there. And there's Perks on the left side of the screen, steps forward into that Winds of War, not able to actually flash out or avoid that in any way. Still had his Zonias up there too, I do believe. So definitely a mistake from him going down, but thankfully Expect and Mythy were able to hold on to the game. And at least it's mid lane. It's not the bot lane one farthest from here.
Very true.
The pressure on G2 Esports, it's insane right now. They were actually sitting in a very good spot coming into day 4 here. Sitting tied for second with WE. They lost that game convincingly. Now they're under so much pressure against the GIGABYTE Marines as well. Going 0-2 before the final day, where you're trying to lock in that top 4.
And there's a little idea of what would happen. You know, SKT may clean sweep the rest of the games. WE won't pick up another. What's going to happen? These things, not at all. Everything's up in the air here on the last day of groups at MSI.
One thing at least working the way of G2 is that the Dragon spawns have not been super impactful. It's been 2 clouds in a row. Now, with the Marines having full map control, they could get whatever they want. And the key here is not allowing yourselves to get cracked on a second inhibitor.
Right.
Lose that second inhibitor, it just feels like the map pressure is going to be so heavily in your opponent's favor that you may not be able to battle back.
They still want that slight engage. You can see Expect saying, I can take a few hits, tank it up, see if I can absorb some ultimates, big abilities. But GIGABYTE Marines is not biting. They're standing true. Optimus now flanking the side in a 4-1 right in the face of the second now inhibitor turret of G2 Esports. The minion wave not there enough. They have to wait it out.
And Slay has just been so big in this game. He's 2 levels up on Sven. He's poking them off the turrets. He's knocking them down when he gets access to it. And this Ziggs has just been massive.
Yeah.
G2 doesn't really seem to have an answer to this push right now.
Well, that's the problem for G2, you know, they use everything to try and kill Optimus when he jumps in, so Ziggs in the back line, no one is touching him, you know, he doesn't care about an Nautilus in the late game actually hitting him,
right.
So everything from G2 right now is built around try and survive the engage from GIGABYTE Marines. But it's not, again, as we talked about, just the Zed, it's also the Ziggs ulti coming, there's a Malza ulti, there's a Galio ulti, like there's so many things you gotta look out for, everything is just a threat. And that's kind of the thing when you play against GIGABYTE Marines.
And I think that's what we've seen happening to Sven as well throughout these plays. He gets out of everything, then there's the Mega Inferno Bomb. Then the Zed ulti hits. It's been impossible for him to stay alive.
And it's really tough because he can itemize into things like a Hex Drinker, you know, and a PD to try to be a bit more defensive.
Hourglass.
But then you have no damage, right? Like, then how do you actually kill the Stark off, who is this ridiculously tanky frontliner with multiple armor items? And that's the battle he has to kind of go between. Do you just trust on Mythy to keep you safe and build more damage, or do you stay defensive?
Slay uses ulti right there to maybe chop down Sven a little bit. So 1 ulti gone at least, but it's 1.5 minutes now for Baron to respawn. Just want to quickly talk about Stark and Galio. Like, we still see very mixed opinions on Galio as a champion in the top lane. I feel like whenever, especially he's paired with like split pushing comps, he's actually been so fun to watch and so effective because he's, again, his own push is great and he can join that engage so quickly.
Yeah. And for me, it's about the champion pairings. I love Galio with something like a Jarvan, and this is the first time I've actually seen it with Zed, but I have loved this combo. I think that if you have a good delivery system, it's exceptionally powerful, but if you do not, it's very hard sometimes for Galio to find that effective ultimate, and this comp has just been fantastic, I think.
Yeah, and Stark has just, again, been pushing, leaves his lane, walks towards where his team is looking to maybe fight, so he's in range for ulti at the start of the fight. He's not coming in late. He's joining as soon as they engage.
And you kind of have to wonder, you know, should you have banned out that Ziggs? They elected to take away Cannon instead. Ziggs has been very effective for the Marines and how they like to play throughout the tournament, and it doesn't seem like Stark has been bothered at all, but they may have a catch here.
Depth charge goes down. Stark hits up 2. That's Trick and Sven. A good bit of damage. Slay on the left. He's actually trying to zone out Mythy here so they can get the CC out of the fight. Trick and Mythy now down the bottom channel of jungle as the members of GIGABYTE Marines are in place. They actually held that off for Archie to get here, but still low HP bars. Could be scary.
Yeah, it's so hard for the damage dealers and G2 Esports to actually step forward, because the things like the Galio Q you need to respect, is Zig's minefields, like a lot of this zone control from a lot of different champions on the side of GIGABYTE Marines make it hard for a squishy guy to stand in there.
It really does. These two teams
that's
expect going way too far forward. He may just go down here.
That's one of those oopsies. I didn't want it to hit hooks. That's going to be Optimus going down to the other side of the fight, though. Archie in a bad spot. Dodges the end of the line, gets a blast cone out. Team will be Redemption. And they look for a different fight. Expect on the front line. Also gets a redemption from Middy. Sven holding off his damage quite a while. Trick and Sven not deciding what they want to do, but now the Power 3 are together. There's a double kill for Perks. This is the turnaround they were looking for. Stark in the eyes of G2, and they're going to wipe the team out with Baron spawning.
G2 is going to go straight for Baron. They get the ace, and Minty flashing over the wall to land the exhaust on Levi so he could not take out the back line. Beautiful play from him, and G2 come up huge.
Are we watching a rerun? GIGABYTE Marines last time were also beating G2 for such a long time, and then in the very end, they would lose fight, and suddenly they would lose Baron, they would fall behind, and we had a dead even game. The same thing is happening right now. GIGABYTE Marines completely outplayed G2 for 50, 20 minutes.
And this fight was so much about little skirmishes. Trick on the side with the Sterix Gauge. Able to live so long here through this burst. You would think he's going right down, but Set flashes over the wall, heals him, plus the Sterix, allowing him to survive. And then Track Sven and Mithy do come and meet up here around the bottom. When Sven comes back in, Levi's looking for the assassination, but watch Mithy flashing over the wall, instant exhaust. He can't do anything, has to go back out.
And this is the first fight where G2 Esports did not just straight up lose during the engage.
Yes.
Because Optimus went in, he obviously died. Okay, that is now the engage gone. Looking for Archie here. It won't hit him, won't hit that one either.
They are hungry, not giving up a moment. Levi gets caught up in the strangle thorns. They're going to go grasping roots. They're going to get pushed back though.
TP behind them, Riv.
This is going to be Stark. Stark's in play now, waiting for him to come up. How much damage does the team take before he can get there, though? Heroic entrance puts him up, and it gives the team enough time to see him and his engage. Taunts 3. Perks is out of the taunt, and they head back for Optimus, but they haven't been able to take down more than Archie, as Trick is also fallen. A little bit of a mismatch in damage on both sides. Optimus still on the back line, low. 300 HP between both Optimus and Slay. 600 altogether, I should say. And they are starting to back off. The targets that are in range to die just keep getting away.
Very well played fight by Perks. He zones out both Optimus and Slay, not allowing them to re-enter the fight so they can isolate Stark and take him down.
It is so hard right now for GIGABYTE Marines to find the kills. Hourglass wasn't even used. And we gotta look at Trick in these fights here. He's so tired of just dying and losing and getting flamed by everyone. He's just sitting in the front line going crazy.
Like they will be pressured. I think they're going to be uncontested here for a second. Levi has taken the long way around. 26 seconds on start, 14 on to Trick. If they can hold them out here, get a little bit more time to push up these waves and stop G2's back to get the buy off of everything.
Oh, he's going.
They have just had. Mega Inferno Bomb is going to drop Perks. A huge amount of damage. Mithy could be next, but it is Sven. Then Mithy. Now expect this. They have overstayed their welcome in GIGABYTE's base.
And they're going to push top. They could actually get double inhibitor here, if not even. I mean, they don't have the wave mid, so they can't end the game, but they're going to look for 2 inhibitors.
Well,
Trick
yeah,
is out of the base.
They will definitely get 2 inhibs right now. Trick is trying to just kill the wave right now because those minions will, of course, set up a potential finish because it's 40 seconds still. Someone carries on G2, but they have to wait for these slow minions. They're coming in now, though.
Still so long. This was a Baron up G2 trying to make a move down the mid lane. The inhibitor will fall. 20 seconds across the board. At 18. Having Slay up right now is huge. Heroic entrance to put the nail in the coffin as they look for the second Nexus turret. 40 minutes in. GIGABYTE Marines turn on the afterburners and take down G2.
And G2, they got overconfident. They stay around too long. Levi slowing them down on the Kazakhs, poking them, and then the Ziggs ultimate coming in. They punished G2 so hard when G2 looked like they had finally taken control of the game.
That's always the problem when you fall so far down that when you try and make that comeback, your base is still so open. Like one mistake, one bad fight, you lose that fight, and then suddenly your Nexus is gone. They overstayed, as you guys said. They got punished. Ziggs was in the game. He could just take down Destruction super easy. GIGABYTE Marines deserve to win this game 100% because they outplayed G2 for basically 15 minutes and forward.
And I think G2 had a very strong first 15 minutes, but it felt like after that, they got drawn into the Marines game. They were fighting them non-stop. They were not playing as patiently as they needed to, and as soon as the turret started to fall, they lost full map control.
This now means that tomorrow for both these teams will be so exciting to watch, because right now, if you go in tomorrow and at least go 1-1, there's a high chance you sneak maybe into that fourth place or guarantee maybe a tiebreaker game. But 0-2, and you are guaranteed to be out of MSI.
And we're still facing a possibility of perhaps a 5-way tie.
Really?
I mean,
we still get that?
We could still possibly get that,
With the 9-1 SKT?
There's 6 teams. There's 6 teams that have a tie.
I know, but it's more with the fact that we can't have 4-6
right,
on all
with
the
the
teams.
one loss. We may not be able to get it, I'm not sure, but there definitely can be potential for tiebreakers.
True. So it might not be guaranteed out with 0-2, but it's very likely. And no one wants to go 0-2.
You guys got
Esports just did.
We believe in you. You guys got it. So GIGABYTE Marines finish their day with a win here. We're going to go ahead and hand it off to the analysts to break down that matchup.